Hey there, YouTube family. Well, new home sales from an inventory standpoint have never been this high. We have to go back into the great financial crisis. You have to go all the way back to August of 2009. We're going to talk about an article that talks about this in detail. I'm going to give you some facts about the housing market, why I think the progressive steps of the housing market have been permanently disrupted. So if you're new to the show, welcome. Start off by hitting that like button, hit the bell notification so you are notified when I do release my videos. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on this article. A lot of you have not heard this, so I'm going to lay it out for you. America's new home inventory reaches the highest level basically since the great financial crisis. So what is the facts and figures behind this article? It says that the inventory of newly built homes in the United States has reached an historic high, raising concerns about economic implications for the housing sector while home builders struggle with excess supply. So here is the bullet point right here. It says the number of finished homes. So you still have homes that are in progress and they're breaking ground on it. They're in different phases. These are homes that are finished, that are on the market in January, reached the highest level since August of 2009 per data. And the reason why I'm giving you that little bit of extra information to kind of grasp how powerful that statement is, we know there's different stages of building construction. You know, a lot of these builders have already sunk this money into certain projects, into certain homes. Some of them haven't even broken ground. Some of them are just starting to break ground. Some of them are saying, hey, I'm not going to have these homes or this subdivision completed for the next 6 to 9 months. Those types of pre-market development new homes do not get factored in to this ominous inventory of new homes finished, highest since 2009. So this is something that's going to exacerbate for quite some time. Stay tuned because I think it's going to get much worse before it gets better. It talks about that newly built home inventory stood at about 495,000 in January. That's a 9-month supply to current sales. I think by this time next year, you'll be going to be looking at probably well over a year, easily. So what to know? They talk about what to know. It says that the supply of newly built homes continues to grow as demand struggles to keep pace. We all know this. We talk about inflation. We talk about wages not keeping up with the cost of goods and services. Debt rising, all-time consumer debt. I've said this repeatedly. You have to learn how to manage your debt. You have to get your debt to a serviceable number where there is a gap between what you pay out and what's left over, aka disposable income. When you get to that sweet spot where you have ample disposable income, then you can start to look towards the road towards prosperity. Sometimes it takes months and sometimes it takes years, but do not get frustrated because this is something that if you get behind the 8 ball, so to speak, it takes a long time to right that ship. I read further. It says at the same time, the seasonally adjusted estimate of inventory of unsold new homes climbed to 495,000. Despite the increase in supply, affordability remains a pressing issue. The median sales price for homes existing is basically 400,000, reflecting a 4.8% increase from the previous year. So you've seen plenty of articles, ladies and gentlemen, that are talking about whether or not we're going to have a housing crash, whether or not it's going to rival 2008. I think it's a moot point. And I've made this analogy before, so I'll bring it up again. If a dozen of eggs costs $9 and the price really comes down substantially, and a dozen eggs all of a sudden cost $4.50, but you still can't afford it, does it matter? Until we address the affordability crisis in this country, I think too many people are getting fixated on a certain narrative. Are we going to have a housing crisis? Is that housing crisis going to rival how bad it was in 2009? I don't really think that's the big issue. I think the elephant in the proverbial room is that when is home prices going to fall in line with the average annual income? And until that happens, affordability for a home ownership for the average American is going to be out of reach for quite some time, regardless how the numbers shake out, regardless how, if we do have a significant pullback in the housing market, if it rivals 2008 or 9. Until those two factors line up, I don't think it really matters, because at the end of the day, you won't be able to afford it. So this is what I mean by this cycle, I think, has been broken, because typically you have that first-time home buyer, and they buy that house from somebody who's been in the house before. That person moves up to the next level of a house, right? Or sometimes they get their dream house. And then they ride off into the sunset because they want to downside, because they're empty nesters. Maybe the kids are off to college, they're doing their own thing. And the husband and wife feels that, hey, we don't need all of this house. It's too big for us. Let's go ahead and sell it, cash in our equity, shore up our finances, and just get something a little bit small. So that's that cycle. You've got the beginning, the middle, and then the end. But here's some data back in 2024 that I think further proves my narrative about something is systemically wrong with that evolution of starting, middle, and then at the top. So in 2024, the average home buyer, if I'm not mistaken, in the United States was 56 years old of age. Think about that. 56 years old of age. That is staggering. First-time home buyers was 38 years old. Both of them are record high. So the first time you buy a house now, you're damn near almost 40 years old. And the person who's currently in the market to buy a house, based on 2024 data, is damn near 60 years old, probably taking out a 30-year mortgage. This is how ominous this is. That's why I say that start, middle, and the top end of that evolutionary housing market, I think, is permanently broken. Not temporary, but permanently broken. You've got high home prices. Mortgage rates have made, I think, home ownership less affordable, in concert with all the things I've talked about earlier about inflation and the cost of goods and services. And this is just pushing people to the point where, think about it, you're at 56 years old, you're damn near 6 years away from being eligible for Social Security. And that's how old you have to be to afford a home in 2024. Just let that resonate for a second. The share of first-time home buyers is also at a historical low. I think it's down like 32% in 2023, and it was maybe down to 24%, something like that in 2024. The median age of a repeat buyer, somebody who's buying a house for the second time, is 61 years old, based on the data in 2024. It was 58 years old in 2023. So what are some historical trends can we arrive at from this? I think the median age for first-time home buyers has increased from 28 in 1991 to 38 in 2024. And I think, according to the National Association of Realtors, NAR, they have been tracking the average age of the home buyer for almost 4.5 decades. This is really, really sad that you have to be almost 60 years old to buy a house, and the first-time home buyer is almost 40 years old. Another factor I'd like to leave you guys with also is that there's been a lot of videos out on YouTube that have accurately reporting this, but it's not getting enough news. These credit bureaus are now reporting these student loan payments as late, because typically they won't report the late payment until the student loan payment is at least 90 days. And anybody who's missed a payment on a 30-day credit card knows how much that brings down your credit score. So just imagine how many points you lose from a credit score standpoint when you get a one-time 90-day late payment. So the numbers that are coming out is anywhere from losing 1 to up to 200 points on your credit score from having a 90-day late show up on your credit report. This causes an equity trap, because it doesn't matter how much equity you have. For example, hypothetically, let's say you purchased a home for $400,000. You've been in it for a long period of time, and now it's worth $800,000. You've doubled your money. So now you want to take out 80%. You want to do a $640,000 loan. All lenders that are going to be looking to let you cash out or refinance are going to pull your credit, because they have to assess the risk factor when giving you a loan against your property. Even though the property is there's going to be a lien against it. They have to assess whether or not you have the ability to pay that new loan back. So the fact that you have a ton of equity means absolutely nothing if your FICO score was at 700 and it dropped down to 580, and the bank has, let's say, a minimum FICO score requirement of 650 to refinance. They will not offset that requirement in lieu of having a ton of equity. So a lot of people are going to be equity trapped because they're going to be late on their student loan payments. They're late on their credit card payments. People are getting their cars repoed. All of these things have a negative impact on your credit report, and it exacerbates your ability to tap into equity and to get personal loans. So the devil's always going to be in the details. Like I said, we do not need a GFC 2.0 to basically have a GFC. Once again, if the eggs are $9 and they go down to $4.50 and you only got $3 in your pocket, you can't afford the eggs. So the only stock tip I have for you is that I'm shorting BABA, the Chinese version of, I think it's Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, BABA. We'll see what happens with that. I will post results of that on Facebook. Once again, please continue to support the channel. If you thought this particular episode was informative and insightful, do me the honors by hitting the like button, leaving a comment if you wish. Thank you for watching the Kevin Strong Show. I'll see you in the next one, and make it a good one.